award-winning author Raashida Khan has offered us another gripping and thought-provoking book, Fragrance of Forgiveness. And this is a sequel to her acclaimed debut novel, Mirror Cracked. And once more, readers are taken on Azraa Hassim's journey of rediscovery and self-realization as she tries to pick up the pieces of her shattered life and find a path that will ultimately lead to forgiveness and recovery. Well, Raashida is here, looking also beautiful this Sunday morning. It's great to have you, Raashida. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here as always, Pearl.
Now, the people who've not perhaps read Mirror Cracked, give us a brief breakdown into the flow of the sequel and how we're picking it up.
So Mirror Cracked is also quite a sad story. It's about the breakdown of a marriage. And we follow a few months, year or two that lead up to the divorce at the end of Mirror Cracked.
Oh, so there is a divorce.
Yes, at the end of Mirror Cracked. And then Fragrance of Forgiveness picks up actually 2 years later. In that period, Azraa has not moved on. She has not accepted what has happened. She's not forgiven herself and all the people around her who she feels has wronged her. And she is in a state of limbo. She's just existing, performing all the functions of life that she needs to carry on living, but she is not really enjoying life or actually being present in life. She's pushed everybody away. She's pushed everything aside. She's actually built up a wall around her to protect herself from further hurt. And it's actually a very, very sad state that she's in. And Fragrance of Forgiveness takes her through her journey of slow acceptance and forgiveness.
And is she the person that she has to forgive?
Ultimately, yes. I think ultimately forgiveness is only possible when one is able to forgive ourselves. So it is quite a journey that she goes through. And it's quite difficult at times for her to really see things the way they are.
Yes.
You know, so originally the first title was called Mirror Cracked because what happened to her at that point was everything that she thought she knew about herself, her whole identity shattered because everything that she was in relation to being a wife and a mother and the successful person in control of everything and in charge. And all of a sudden she realized she actually has no control on anything. So she doesn't even know herself anymore. So there's a lot of that soul searching and going inward to find yourself, you know, so going deep into that. And yeah, there are times when it's very sad and there are times when it's very hopeful and positive as well.
You highlight the seriousness of depression that she goes through in the book and how it affects not only her but her family and especially that relationship that she has with her daughter.
For sure. So that is quite a thing, you know. Often people don't want to talk about mental issues, mental health, and it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you necessarily, you know, but whatever it is, you can deal with it. And sometimes, especially in communities, more conservative communities, people shy away from this. They don't want to take help. And I often say that that is really not the thing to do, you know. When we're ill, we go to the doctor, we take medication, we take help.
Yes.
And the statistics about where intervention is possible, you know, the success rate of intervention is actually so high that it is something that we should be considering all the time. So there's mental health issues that I also deal with and talk about, you know, without getting into the nitty-gritty actual medical part of it. But really how it affects us. And, you know, I mean, sometimes I think we are fragile human beings, but ultimately, if we really know ourselves, we're actually extremely strong. And a lot of the things we can do is we can do in self-healing if we accept things. So take help, listen to yourself, trust your instincts, trust your gut, you know, because life is going to throw you curveballs now and then. It's never going to be smooth sailing.
And I love how brilliantly you show us that full picture with this book. And I want to talk about Farid and his demons that we are seeing. It's a great twist in the book. And I mean, that's also affecting his relationship with Zack. Talk to us about just the dynamic that we are seeing unfold between them.
So, you know, I don't want to give too much away because at the end of the last book, those who did read the last book will remember that after the divorce, you know, what was going on between Farid and Zack was, and then that develops and then undevelops, you know, to use a different kind of a word. And, you know, there's a lot of internal soul searching on Farid's side as well. A lot of his understanding of who he is as a person, who he is and why he is this person who didn't want to accept himself or acknowledge himself initially. You know, so his whole journey in understanding his reluctance. I mean, in fact, when the realization comes, the first thought for him to do is to just completely deny it, to pretend this is not happening. And, you know, that can have disastrous consequences. One has to be able to look at oneself and say, okay, this is who I am. And ultimately love that person and accept that person.
I love how this book is actually, it's like a mirror that each of us reading it are going to have to hold the mirror to ourselves and actually look at ourselves and face all the things that we're going through and come out of them alive, eh?
Wow, you know, well, you've hit the nail on the head, because I have many readers who come back to me and say, you know, this could have been my story, not because of what happened per se in terms of the plot, but just in terms of how one needs to really look at oneself, really understand oneself, love oneself and forgive oneself. And many people read the book and say, you know, this happened to me, or I wish I'd read this book when this happened to me, because this kind of thing is so important for us to know and exist together as a community and with each other.
Raashida, you've got a collection of short stories, just to wrap it up.
Yes.
Tell us about
So
what's
a collection
coming.
of short stories is going to be launched now in February. It's called My Voice, Your Strength and Other Stories. So I'm very excited about that. So as you know, I've got a poetry anthology, 2 novels, the short story, and I'm going to be launching my 3rd novel. It's called The Cursed Touch. That'll happen in May this year. So it's all very exciting. It's been a busy couple of months and years, and it's going to hopefully continue to be busy, you know.
Raashida, thank you so much. Please invite me to the launch.
I will.
would
I'd be
love
honoured
to
if you'd
come.
attend.
I definitely will. Thank you so much for your time once again, and you look stunning. Love that shirt.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
There is award-winning author Raashida Khan speaking to us about her latest novel titled Fragrance of Forgiveness. Of course, a collection of short stories also on its way. Love a good author.